HBO's documentary, We Beat the Dream Team, premiered on Monday, and it's worth your time. Tells the story of the day in June 1992 when the select team, a group of college players that included Grant Hill, Chris Webber, Penny Hardaway, and more, beat the Dream Team in a scrimmage ahead of the Barcelona games. I go to bed very early, but this was one show that kept me up and engaged. And if you like hoops and the history of hoops, you'll certainly enjoy We Beat the Dream Team. And this is your morning Buzzcast for Friday, February 21st. I'm Abe Madcore, really in the most anticipated international hockey game in a decade. Canada beat the United States in overtime to win the first ever Four Nations face-off in Boston on a goal by Edmonton's Oilers star Connor McDavid. It was a wildly intense game, and again, congratulations to Gary Bettman and Marty Walsh and the players, because the global energy around hockey was just amplified incredibly Thursday night. Now, NHL players will compete in the Olympics next year in Italy. Players and fans can already look forward to that. The bottom line is that the Four Nations face-off was well done. It was a hit. The tournament showed well. The players played with great energy and intensity. Fans got into it. New fans got into global hockey. Canada showed they were the best, and now the NHL season can continue with some wind at its back. All in all, a big success for the NHL and the NHLPA. You know, during my recent travels at the Super Bowl and NBA All-Star Game, there's been a lot of chatter over the relationship between Major League Baseball and ESPN, specifically around their current media partnership. And the question is whether the two could renew their long-standing rights agreement. Well, the worst-kept secret occurred late Thursday when baseball and ESPN mutually agreed to opt out of their national TV deal after this season. So the two sides had a mutual opt-out date of March 1st. Though the 2025 season is already locked in, ESPN, MLB, the relationship will certainly continue through this year. But here's where things get interesting. MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred sent a letter to owners Thursday in which he stated the league had, quote, not been pleased with the minimal coverage that MLB has received on ESPN platforms over the past several years outside of the actual live game coverage, end quote. That's a pretty strong statement. Baseball and ESPN have a 7-year deal. They agreed to it in 2021, worth $550 million per year. That's regular season games, the wild card round, the home run derby. And here is where the tensions start. ESPN feels it pays way too much for baseball, considering the return on viewership. They also do not like the fact that baseball went out and sold a package to Apple for Friday night games, averaging $85 million a year. Baseball did a deal with Roku for Sunday games that average $10 million a year. ESPN wonders why it's paying $550 million for its package. But here's where MLB pushes back. They feel their rights are very valuable. Rob Manfred and especially owners do not want to take a step back on overall media revenue, and they see potential partners in Comcast, Paramount, Amazon, perhaps even Netflix. But the tension is real between the sides, let me tell you. Baseball has tested the market. Manfred said the league has been in conversations with several parties about these rights. They expect to have at least 2 potential options for consideration over the next few weeks. MLB does not expect to see a deal like the NBA got. The NBA is going to average about $7 billion per year in their new deal, which starts next season. But baseball certainly believes they should get more than the $2 billion collectively that it gets right now from all its partners. So this will be a very good indicator of the marketplace and baseball's place in it. History was made on Thursday with the first use of the automated ball strike challenge system that happened during a spring training game between the Cubs and the Dodgers in front of around 11,000 fans in Arizona. So 13 spring stadiums will feature this type of system this spring. Remember, baseball is testing this at the major league level for the first time. They've been experimenting with this in the minor leagues for years. So how does this work? Each team will be given two challenges, just two challenges per game over balls and strikes. And the batter, the catcher, or the pitcher can initiate a challenge, and it has to happen immediately after the umpire's call. Baseball uses the Hawkeye technology to look at the challenge. Remember, AAA will have this challenge system all year, so the league office will have as much information as possible before a decision is possibly made to use the system in 2026. Back to Thursday's game. Pretty interesting. The challenge system included iPads in each dugout for players to voice their complaints if they desired, but the results were positive. There were the two challenges the entire game. One was a successful challenge where a ball was overturned to be called a strike. Baseball officials called it a good first step. There were no issues, really no complaints. Remember, there are only two challenges per game, so it's not intended to slow down the game, but really to only come up when players think a really poor call was made in a very big moment in the game. Again, the bottom line, more and more technology being used on the field of play. Let's shift to golf. A potential deal between the PGA Tour and Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund appears to be closer. President Trump held a meeting Thursday with PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan and Tour player directors Adam Scott and Tiger Woods. PIF Governor Yasser Al-Rumayyan was also at the White House, and the PGA Tour was optimistic. Following the half day of meetings in Washington, and SBJ's Josh Carpenter cited sources saying that President Trump initiated the meeting. It began around noon, ended around 6. The tour, in a statement, said there was a constructive working session among the parties to find a way to unify pro golf. They also said they're committed to moving as quickly as possible towards a deal. They want the best players in the world playing together more often. So what are you seeing here between the tea leaves? Yes, you're reading that right. You are seeing a movement toward operating under one tour. You keep hearing about a unification of the tours. More details to come, and we'll see where this all nets out. Personally, and this is not a political statement at all, I find it fascinating that after all this time, the two sides can't reach a deal themselves and still have to lean in to the government and President Trump to get a deal done. Again, not a political statement at all. That's all I'm going to say on that one. Let's end with a couple of quick hitters. A major mixed-use development in Chicago is moving forward. We've talked about this on the Buzzcast, and the Chicago City Council gave final approval to a $7 billion plan to redevelop 55 acres around the United Center. It'll be housing, retail, entertainment, a public plaza, heavy into park space. It's called the 1901 Project, joint venture. Blackhawks, Bulls around the United Center. Phase 1 is expected to take 2 years to complete. That will include construction of a 6,000-seat music hall. There'll be a hotel and a public plaza. Now, we've talked about this. Construction will take place in 7 phases over 10 to 15 years. This is a long-term build. It's financed by the Reinsdorf family and the Wirtz family. Of course, they own the Bulls and the Blackhawks. Construction is set to begin this spring and could conclude or end as late as 2040. But this project is reimagining an entire area of the city of Chicago. And a final shout out to University of North Carolina Athletic Director Bubba Cunningham, one of the truly good people in sports business. UNC is renaming its athletic director Scholar Athlete Award. They're calling it now the Bubba Cunningham Athletic Director Scholar Athlete Award. And I love this. This award is given each year to one athlete at UNC per team who has attained exemplary level of achievement during his or her career in both academics and athletics. And now that award is named after a very classy person, athletic director Bubba Cunningham. And so that is your morning Buzzcast for Friday, February 21st. I'll be in Boston at the National Sports Forum over the next few days. My colleagues will bring you the Buzzcast early next week. So I'm Abe Madcore. Stay healthy, be good to each other. I'll speak to you down the road.